Hello everybody. Reverb. Okay, let's shut that one down. Yeah, just playing the SH-5, which just came in my studio, and therefore the webcam is a bit strange. So it's located here, and then I have a struggle with my cable. Okay, so the SH-5 is a Roland synthesizer, and I thought, yeah, why not play a few notes and compare this with what we have as virtual analog, which is BIT. So if I play it now again with a little bit of reverb, and then I will play a bit, which is not exactly the same sound, but then you can hear how far we did get with our virtual instruments in getting the sound right. Okay, that's HC5. And this one is bit. You see it here with the little MIDI indication going on. Okay. What a long reverb, isn't it? So let's place back the webcam so that you can see me as normally. So I was a lucky guy in getting back the Roland SH-5, which I okay, now I need to make this a little bit better. Oops. So that you can see me, guys. Okay, I'm back again here. This is better. Okay, I'm still battling here the cable. I'm not sure why it's the headphone cable fun. Yeah, so the SH-5, I played a few notes of it. I had this one in 1990s, and then I changed it with this little baby, this Prophet 600. Because I thought, yeah, the Prophet 600 is polyphonic, it has MIDI, it has memory. So I exchanged that with my musical friend in the band Peru. So he did get from me the SH-5, and I did get from him the Prophet 600. And that was the early 90s. But of course, for some reason, I did regret it because it's a very classic synthesizer. And me as a young kid saw this one in a music store in Vermont when I was, I think, maybe 13 or 14 years old. I played organ at that time, and there was a music show in a shop called Reinen in Vermont, and there it stood the SH-5 and some other Roland stuff. Also a demo, by the way, on the CS80 was at that time. I also can recall that one. So that was very very cool at that time. So that always was in my mind. And so I was very lucky to get the Roland SH-5 back in my possession. So you hear, in terms of sound, it's we are very far with our virtual analog. You see the bit lead sound, which I created, prophecy lead, which I did last week with the prophecy core prophecy as MIDI keyboard. Very mellow, one saw waveform. And I played that one on the SH-5, which is now muted. which is dry. Of course, then if I play here also muted, of course, that could be also an option. That one also has delay. That one is a little bit out of tune. So here the difference, it's of course not the right preset, but it's amazing how good these days the plugins sound. So the machines next to me on the left side, the Minimoog, Prophet, the Jupiter, are for me of course the reference. And so this is a little bit of a different start from the live stream about the SH-5, which is in my studio. Okay, so let me see where we are in the chat room. I see some people popping up. Hello, everybody. I see Tom. I see Tonal Axis. I see Hannes. Cool, guys, to have you inside the live stream. Yeah, and maybe I should make someday, when I have more time, some videos about my own instruments, which I own in my studio, some classic. And some of them I own already for many, many years. And okay, let me put back this one here so that the voice is a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, and the audio engineer is there. Hi. Yeah. So maybe you missed the start. So if you play back a little bit, you can see that I played very shortly on the Roland SH-5 and compared next to it to a bit, and then simply to show how far we are in having the virtual analog. Because, yeah, of course, not everybody has the option to purchase these virtual classic machine, or the classic machines, not the virtual ones, which are available, but I mean the classic machines. My Jupiter 8 is already in my possession from 1983. I purchased it new, so it's already almost 40 years in my possession. The Minimoog I have now, I think, for 30 years. Prophet 600 for the same, and so it's more like part of my musical history that I keep them. But for creating music, not always necessary to have them. Of course, everybody has his own workflow. In making music, some like more to have hardware, others like to more software, others like to combine things together. It's where you feel comfortable. That's the most important thing. So when I create music, let's say 99% in my case is now software, because it's for me faster in working, and sound-wise it's fantastic. So okay, so here we have the Rob Live Bank, where I simply, I think most sounds maybe are already inside the in the banks, but for instance this one, where is it? I'm looking. No, that's not the one. Okay. Oh, this one, Termin. I think that one is not yet in the... Termin sound, and I'm not sure if the steel drums are there. So it can do some other sounds as well, compared to the, yeah, and see some personal sounds which are... Red Clouds is a track of mine. Or the VP choir type of sound. And of course we work on BIT version 2. Not much to show you, but it's going to be very cool. We'll have animated dial, so it get around the dial it has a kind of LED ring, so that you also can see some automation if you want to see it. You can always shut it down, of course. Vangelis FX, I'm not sure. Oh, that's a typical CS80 sound. ring modulation type FM modulation. And I'm looking for, I had a very nice pet sound, which also was here. Yeah, Time Wind, that one we used. Very classic synth sound. The sound everybody made if they first time played on a synthesizer, they made some wind sound. I'm looking here. Oh, this one also was a nice one, a sequence sound. Yeah, and of course the pads are also nice, the classic pad sounds. If you go in this bank, and then of course I will go to what I have planned to create today with bit a side stick rim shot. Okay, where is the? Weird modulation there, but then yeah, this type of pad sound is of course very good for the bit. Yeah, typical Jupiter pad sounds are these. Okay, let's go to the idea I had for today, because Robert did send me an example of a rim shot which was created by a producer he knows with a little fatty. Let me play it, and also done in a virtual other instrument. Let me see where we have it. So the other one was the in the Imp Oscar. So it was a rim shot side stick. So this is done in the Moog. Okay, let's shut down this one. So, and definitely a noise sound. And in the Imposca, that one is much nicer, which is more realistic. And most likely with the Imposter, they used a bandpass filter, and with the Moog Little Factory, you only have the low pass filter. So you have a lot of low noise. And so the Imposter one, that's a really good one. That really sounds a little bit like maybe like a bit like a Lindrum rim shot side stick. So we're gonna use that. We will recreate this one in BIT. So I will go to BIT, go to a default preset, and there's no default preset in here. So then I will create one. Then I go, let's shut down. I can use a noise, white noise. That one goes into the filter, and I take a bandpass filter. Then of course need a and there it is already. There is the maybe a little bit. So what I do is here with the getting the same time for decay and release, so that I have each time the same, even if I play short. There's no sustain, of course, because with drum sound you don't have sustain, you never have this. So sustain is shut down, and we have the decay 576. I look up here to see the value, and then I will make it there also 576. And now, of course, I need to go again to the example. Here's the example, which Robert did send me. He said, Rob, can you create such a side stick or rim shot sound? Okay. So mine is much too low. And so go a little bit to the okay. And now I need to the more I open the envelope amount, so the envelope is very fast. So it's not exactly the same. It's shorter also. And this one also almost sounds like a, not like a synth, but really a Lin drum computer side stick. So, okay, I might use, maybe I should use another filter type. Let's take just. No, that's so. I'm doubting if this is really an. This sounds more like a real side stick. So if I would go to, so you see the bandpass filter was anyhow better, maybe 24-bit. Let's give that a try. No, 12 dB. Other filter type, also bandpass. We have, of course, other types of bandpass filter. That's better. I make it shorter. So there was too much noise in it. So let's listen to the original. Yeah, that's a hard one. So this is as good as I can get. Making this one. So this would be my side stick. I save this one, save preset as, so I can send this to Robert. Side stick. But it sounds a little bit that what he sent, the sample was more a Lin. And if I would go to Punch now, so let's go to Punch. Where is it? So let's take here, for instance, and go to the samples or snare. Let me see where we find it. I don't have the... I need to search. No. Where is it? Okay, sorry for this. I need to search it. Oh, I don't know where it is. Yeah, rim shot is essentially not a side stick, of course. This is more like a... So the sample what he did send, it seems to me a original Lin sidekick. So if I play it again, sounds like a, or like a sample, the Lin drum, but I could be wrong. So this side stick is then what I created. And then it was different. Yeah, that's the better I don't get it. So I'm not sure how they did it. Maybe they add some other tricks to it. So this is my simple attempt to get the side stick sound. So maybe still a little bit too long if you would have a groove. Oh, we don't have a groove. Okay, so that about the side stick type of sound. Okay, let's see what we have in the chat room. Yeah, sounds like a table tennis game. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so let's see. For the ones who are joined later, yeah, I start really with a little different start today with the Roland SH-5, played also a bit simply to show how powerful these days the virtual analog synths are, or all the analog synths essentially, which are virtual in all, and of course, yeah, Predator 3 did get the bit juice to it, so we added the code what we use in bit also in other plugins, which makes that you get some very, very nice analog type of sound. Because as mentioned, not everybody has the privilege or was lucky to have a range of analog synthesizers in the studio. I'm of course an old chap, so I from the 80s already have so many synthesizers on board, and then of course at a given time they were not modern anymore. Once the DX7 came out, you could purchase a Jupiter 8 for a few bucks. But everybody wanted to have the DX7 because it has velocity. It had very compact in design. It had e-pianos, and of course, many of the keyboard players wanted to have more of that. So that made that at a given time, early '80s, the analog machines were a bit, yeah, how you say that? Not that popular anymore. And then, of course, the samplers came, and everybody jumped on that. And then now we've, of course, the prices of the of the analog machines are rising, especially from the classic ones. And so behind me you can see the Prophet 600, which I have from the early 90s. I created also a video which you can find in the playlist from Livestream. If you scroll down, you will see the image of the Prophet 600, because I did a video about the Prophet 600 because the inventor from Sequential passed away, Dave Smith, and so I did a tribute video. On top you see, of course, the Mini Moog, which I could purchase in 1990. That's this one. And so maybe I should do it in a bit different way. Let me see. So give me 1 second, guys. Maybe to tell you a little bit about... So let me see if I can do this very good for you. Okay, I think this should be working. So here you see the SH-5, which I could purchase back. So here you see some of my gear I had or still having to date. You see the Korg MS-20, 2 of them, and a SQ-10 above it. You don't see it on the picture, but that one essentially was my first synthesizer. When I was 15, I purchased the... okay, let me show you it a little better, a little bigger, so it's better for you to see this on the... So I cannot see the chat room now, but see, have now... Okay. Yeah, so this is the SH-5. That one I had a short time, and then switched that with my music friend, and did get from him the Prophet 600, and he did get my SH-5. And then, of course, I did regret not to have the Prophet 600, but I always like this SH-5. It's a very special, rare synthesizer. It's from the early age, 1976, they released it. Has some nice features, typical Roland sound. I'm not sure about the filters, if it's 12 dB or 24 dB. I estimate it's something like 12 dB to my ears. But yeah, then you see on top here that this is the little Fette, which I purchased recently. I use that one on stage when I create electronic music to play some solos on, because I leave my Mini Moog in the studio because that lady is too old to carry away for being on the road. So that would be pity if it would be damaged while being on the road. So yeah, the Korg MS-20 up here with the SQ-10. Then you see on the right hand side the SH-101, which I purchased back last year. I had one originally, also sold it because I was a little bit frustrated that you could not store the presets, so you had a cool sound, and then you had to write it down what you did. And I was a little bit frustrated about that, and then I sold it. But now I could sell it back. And then you see here me on stage with the band Peru. Back here is Root, and this is me with hair. And this is Jos van Dungen, who also played in Peru at a given time. And here you see the SH-5. And then you see here the left side, what you see on the left side. Here's down here's the SH-5, did get its spot. Then you see the Jupiter 8, which I owned already from 1983. So that one is already very long in my possession. I'm the first owner. Yeah, then there is the Prophet 600. And then the Moog Mini Moog, which was in very bad shape. So the whole keyboard was yellow. The guy who owned it did stick some weird plastic on the surface. The Mini Moog label was missing, but at least it was a Mini Moog, and it was a very old one because it didn't have the, what they say, tuning stable print board. And this one has a tuning, it did get a revision, and now it's tuning stable as well. And you see I have a cord here on the Jupiter because the cat jumped behind it, also inside of it. So that's a little bit, would not be a good case if the cat comes down together with the Mini Moog on the ground. So then you see here some a Doppler analog sequence which I use on stage to do some live stuff. And there's a Rebark modules with two filters, two oscillators, which I also use on stage. Then you have the System 22 from synthesizers.com, which has a Moog filter and a kind of Oberheim filter. And you can combine some cool stuff. And this modular synthesizer I also use on my DVD to explain how subtractive synthesis works. And so then on the right-hand side, you see the Waldorf M. I converted the sounds I created for the Waldorf for the Waldorf microwave into the M. So they are also available. Then you see down here the Waldorf Pulse, where I also created some sounds for. Then, of course, the microwave is the programmer. And down here you see Proteus 2000, the Orbit 3, and an LSSD 4. So yeah, and then on front where I sit here is my it's my keyboard, my laptop, and so that's the setup I have. And on stage, I regularly take them with me some analog stuff, which is cool to look at for the people who are viewing the live music. And then you can, so what I do is then you have Cubase as a sequencer, but it also next to doing the virtual analog machines or the virtual plugins which I use on stage, it's playing sequencers, but also the sequencer is playing and controlling the hardware. So the System 22 I do some things on the Eurorack, and of course then I have an extra laptop for playing as a synthesizer. So the laptop is essentially for doing sequencing, but also have a laptop for playing it as a synthesizer module. So I go from track to track if I want another sound. And yeah, so and then I have also this Chord Prophecy, which I use on stage because it has some nice controlling features, which so I play with the Chord Prophecy, some sounds from it, but also the software synthesizers with that one. So that's a little bit of a history, and so it's a collection from over many years. Of course, it's they are in, but essentially, if you would say, okay, do you need it for creating music? No, not at all. With music software today, you can have the same quality and the same, and even sometimes more comfort, because if you have to record hardware, you need to plug it in, check the MIDI and that kind of thing. Okay, but a lot of talking. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's also in my studio, which I forgot to mention. I have also an E4 keyboard from Emu, a sampler, and an Sonic ASO 10, but that's not on the picture. That's also in my studio. And of course, I made some good sounds. And for the Proteus 2000, the ROM cards I created, the TechnoSync Construction Yard and Beat Garden ROM, are again available. I will post that very soon in my newsletter. They again are available, so that's cool. If you have a Proteus 2000 and never got hold of one of the 2 ROMs I created they are available again. Okay, so let's dive some synthesis. So this is a so what we are doing with BIT version 2 is, of course, adding some cool features. Okay. So if I okay, but this is from a sound bank. This is not inside the. This is a sound bank we offer. I think the app sound. I played it. I want to go to this one again. Okay, looking here. I think many sounds are inside here. So the sweep. So yeah, give me 1 second, because somebody. Yes, I'm back, because somebody mentioned the emulator sound set. Yeah, that's right. This is this one. So this is the CD-ROM for the Emulator 4, or the E6400 was a very popular sound set of mine. And what's different with this one compared to the other library from EMU, that one's really focused on using the synth features of the samplers, because they're very nice filters in these samplers, far more sophisticated than, for instance, a Akai sampler. So you could do a lot of cool stuff, which I really dived into in this sound set. And I need to put this on the homepage, by the way, because a lot of data. How do you use the controls in the advanced tab? Question from Tom. From which which plugin you mean, Tom? Because maybe I'm missing something. What you ask? Controls. Advanced tab. Oh, in bit. Oh, now, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, now I get your point, Tom. Yeah. Well, the advanced pad, if I go to a default preset again, that's best to do. Now, normally you would use, for instance, another LFO for instance, for doing pulse width modulation, which is a classical thing to do with virtual analogs. You had a square waveform, and then you would use an LFO to make this square moving around. So what we did is adding an advance per oscillator. So each oscillator has also its own LFO, and this is this LFO. And you can this you can address with an amount to volume, tuning, symmetry. In this case, I pick symmetry. So it changes definitely this thing here. So if I go back to advanced, you can see I'm changing the symmetry, the midpoint. I'm moving. So this is cool for kind of unisound. So this is you do. So this keeps the other LFO, which is here, for instance, for the filter LFO. So this makes the features of BIT much deeper, this advanced page. So you don't need to use the modulation matrix or that you have a page with many LFOs. No, it's inside the LFO 1 you have, in the oscillator 1, you have its own LFO. So symmetry you could do, but also tuning. Or the volume of the synthesizer. And now you see the tuning keeps a little ring around it. This means that something is active. So if I click back to tune, you see that it has this amount. If the amount is double click, and I go back to volume, you see now it's back. So if something is activated, because you have multiple amounts, you see that there's a little ring around it that stays there. So if this ring lights up, it means that something is active. So if I click here on symmetry, you see, okay, this amount is used. Well, double click, that is of course gone. Tuning. And of course we have it still on volume. Of course, that's not that much used, but that's what you can address to these parameters. So you can control in the advanced page the volume of this oscillator, the tuning of the oscillator, the symmetry, and also the feedback. And the feedback is depending on these sounds. So that will be nicer, I think, on a sinus. And then you go to advanced. And you see what it does to the... So this is feedback to the oscillator itself. So that makes it a lot of comfortable. So you have a lot more modulation features this way. Well, this is the LFO side, but also we have an envelope. And the envelope is a if you hit the note, a time component. So this one, for instance, if I put this on the tune, and okay, let's take it. Can even do a retrigger, sync. So this you can do on tuning, but also on symmetry. Okay, that's one I should shut down. It doesn't do any. Maybe on the square you could hear it a little better. And then you see. By the way, that's a nice thing to make some fuzz sounds. It's a little bit too deep. So this is only symmetry. So the envelope you can use also to control the volume so that the sound's very short. Now, and how you can use this in practice. So now let me go to some presets where I show this. So in the pad sounds, by the typical well, here you see the advance, you see symmetry, it lights up here, this one lights up, I click on it and you can see that symmetry is used. That's an example. So for this pulse width modulation, this type of thing. So for its bases, some people mention the bases. Where we have them here, I think. And you see, has also the symmetry modulation. They call it pulse width modulation because essentially you could only use it on the pulse. So you could not use it on a sinus waveform, and that's still possible with BIT to use it also on a sinus waveform. It's a saw. I would not use it on a saw because then it makes really the sound very bad. But so that keeps this LFO free for doing the filter and the pitch LFO. So it makes it's a lot more comfortable in editing sounds. But if I go to the synth sounds, Syn 01. You also can use it. It's, of course, a subtractive synthesizer, but if you would have a subtractive synthesizer, which would have an envelope in each oscillator, you could do also these type of sounds. So if we go to advanced, you can see that here the volume is controlled by an envelope. Because here you see the amount. So it makes that the envelope controls the volume of oscillator 1, and you see the oscillator 1 doesn't go to the filter that's shut down here, but it does go to the oscillator 2 and uses phase modulation. So also have essentially a two operator FM synthesizer. So you get some almost typical DX7 sounds. So that this expands, and of course this idea we already did in Predator, that we had the option that you could shut down the oscillator from going into the filter, so it's not in the audio anymore, but it is used to modulate the other oscillator too. And then if you would have a phase modulation or FM modulation or ring modulation, and you have the envelope control, it opens a ton of sound options. So way beyond what you can normally do with a analog machine. But if an analog machine would have this same layout as BIT, you would be able to do this, of course. So therefore you hear some typical. Now that's of course not good. Typical FM type of sounds. Or these kind of things. So if I shut down oscillator 1, you only hear oscillator 2. Sinus. This is also a nice sound. But then it's modulated by oscillator 1. And you get all kind of these type of things. Oh, there's also a nice sound. Oh, this one I should store. This is what they call a happy accident. Okay, so I should store this one and then put it in my own folder. Once we release bit 2, I can add this one, save preset in folder. Then I go, of course, to the right folder, the personal folder, Rob Live. There I put on also some new sounds. The other bell. We should call this kind of vibe, I would call it. Yeah. So that about the the advanced panel a little bit. Maybe I have another example. What you could do maybe in the synth sounds. Of course, the yeah, this is a good example. What I used here is a slide pitch envelope. So if you go to advanced, to saw, but in the advanced you see that the tune, has a little. So here nothing is going on because nothing pops up here. Nothing is going on, but here we have, you see the tuning is a little bit changed. So if I double click it, now it's gone. It's a little. That kind of sound you get. So pitch, a little pitch glide. And if you do it very fast, you get this. This typical brass sounds, which is essentially picture that you have a trumpet player, trombone, and a trumpetist playing together, and yeah, they not always hit the right pitch. So sometimes you do boop, and then you get this sound. So that's the other thing you can do with this advanced panel. So it helps you in creating far more different types of sounds. So I hope this helps a little bit, Tom. Yeah, what will be new in bit 2 will be we have some a super saw idea inside the oscillators, which means that there is a multiple oscillator going on. If you select it as a waveform, we will have a ribbon controller inside of it. Yes, a ribbon controller inside bit 2, which you can address to any of the parameters. So a bit like the keyboard you see in the upper corner, you see this ribbon controller, which you can address to parameters, and that we're going to add virtual in bit 2. We have here in the amp section, we have the distortion here, but we have the more types. We will have some very cool new ARP features. Of course, ratcheting, but also some other cool new ideas we added inside of it. So hopefully at the end of March, early April, we will have a bit 2 for you guys. So good, guys, it's time for another demo song. And ahead of that, I want to thank you for watching. If you missed it, you always can start at the very start of the live stream, and you will find it always back in the playlist live stream. And by the way, it's even the case that YouTube has now in the top section videos and even live. So there you even can find it back. So I would say enjoy creating music, and hope to see you next week again back in another live stream. And if you have a question or a suggestion, just let me know. Drop an email on info@papen.com, or just in the community tab, which is also in this YouTube. There you also seems to be able to post. So maybe you could give that a try. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. And if you click on this bell icon, you always get an early signal that I'm live or that there is a new video. So anyhow, thanks for watching. And of course, thank you, Tom, for sending a new song. It was so hot that it came right out the oven. I had to grab some a blanket to put it on the desktop. So hot was it. And the track is called Losing It. So let's enjoy the demo song by Tom.
difficulties beyond our control.